What's up, Average Joes? Today I am back and I am reviewing Voice of War. So, just like my first book review, this is a self published author, Zach Argyle, and I read this through Kindle Unlimited. This is one of my unlimited choices that I mentioned a few months back. So, I finally got to it and I wanted to get a review out there so that more people might pick it up. And if you are a Kindle reader, Kindle Unlimited fan, or want anything more about those books, I've had a few videos about Kindle Unlimited, specifically what it is, and some of my TBRs and recommendations for those. So be sure to like and subscribe if you want to keep up with some of my books in that realm and self-published and other things. I've got a whole bunch of lists, so I will keep putting out that type of content for you guys. So, setup the book, Voice of War. It is a fantasy book set in a world with magic that magic users called Threadweavers. And the magic system here is really simple. The Threadweavers, there are two types of Threadweavers. There are two types of Threadweavers. Ones with green eyes, ones with blue eyes. So there's the emeralds and the sapphires. The ones with blue eyes can the threadlight. Everybody has their own threadlight that is at the core of them, and it's kind of like a Mistborn esque to where if you have the blue eyes, you I know are a sapphire threadweaver, you can push anything in relation to your own core thread, so your own body basically. You can push anything in relationship to yourself. So you can push objects, you can push the ground to make yourself jump higher, you can push the ground behind you to make yourself run faster. And then green, the emeralds are the opposite to where it pulls in relation to yourself. So very pretty simple magic system. So there the in this world there's the thread weavers, and one of our main characters is investigating this band of outlaws that are abducting thread weavers and taking their blood for to sell it to use for things. So he is off trying to find these people, and then he discovers some of who they're behind and uncovers some things, and then gets in a whole mess of trouble, and his life kind of chaos ensues. We have another main character that she is from a far off kind of world and society that's away from the rest of the entire world. They're kind of in a secret area, and she kind of wants out and wants to be a part of the regular people and wants more of a life of adventure. And she's also a sapphire, a thread weaver, and she's part of a people that they don't like to use their powers very much, but she does. And she has an animal companion, and she gets into some trouble just because of her adventurous nature. Then there's a third guy that is introduced about halfway through or just past halfway, and his story I was kind of the most interested in. And he is someone that dies and is reborn, which this isn't really a spoiler, it's in the synopsis. He dies and is reborn, and when he is reborn, he is given some new kind of crazy abilities that come into play. Another thing about one of the main characters, that Sapphire, the guy Chris, I believe is how you say his name. He has a son also. So in the beginning of the book, he's trying to balance, trying to find the blood thieves and having the birth of his first child. And when his son is born, he is also discovered to have a certain ability that is thought to be very rare or lost. And he tries to get his son away because other people try to get them. So that's a very basic overview. It's a very simple setup to where you have the main character looking for these outlaw organizations. You have the magic systems that's super simple. There's pushers and pullers basically, and the other girl that just wants adventure. So for the first half or so of the book, is I wasn't super invested at the time. Like the characters were okay, the world was decent, the magic was very basic for a while. But the longer the book goes on, and toward the end of the book, it really increases, and plots thicken, they weave, things become more complicated, and by the end of the book, you're just like, holy crap, a whole lot just happened. All of these twists happen. I'm really interested in the next book. So one thing that I will say about this book, it is largely set up, which isn't really a bad thing. A lot of fantasy series are largely set up. I'm not sure if this is going to be a trilogy or longer. It's safe to assume trilogy, I think, by now, but I don't really know how long it's going to be. So it is largely set up, which could be a knock for some people, but I didn't mind it too much. Once you get to the end, it is worth it. There is a payoff because you're intrigued as you go forward. Part of there's kind of a line when you go to these new series to, you need to develop the world, the characters, and the magic, but you don't want to info dump. And I think this one does a good job of towing that line of telling you enough of what's up with the magic system and the world, but not just giving it to you in a big info dump. So at times you're a little confused and wondering how things work, like how the threadlight works in relation to you and what threadlight is, but you get little breadcrumbs of it as you go along, so it gives you to you in smaller appropriate doses throughout. So you kind of have to be patient with this book and just go with it. It is a pretty quick, easy read, so that's also a benefit as well. Nothing's going to really drag on. There's not like really long flowery prose or anything like that, but it's pretty straightforward at first, and you are given things slowly as you go along, and then it just builds up to the end to where things really ramp up as you go. So the world and magic does grow as you progress. I am very excited to see where it's going to go in the future. Uh, the three POVs, two of them kind of intersect early on, and then again, like half or so way through, they've kind of touch and go. And the third one um, is kind of off on. He's off kind of off on his own, and then at the end, all of them collide, and each of their starting points from where you think they are is completely different from where the book ends. So what you think is like is probably going to end up being a bad guy is a good guy, or good guy bad guy, something like that. There are twists for the end, and things are really shaken up, and it's not like a huge cliffhanger, but it's definitely like, yes, I can't wait to read the next one. And at the time of this publishing, the second book is out, and the ratings on it are really good. It is like 4.5 or so on Goodreads, which is fantastic. So I've already heard really good things about the second book. I did enjoy this book by the end, so I will be picking up the second hopefully soon. And I'll, down the road we'll see how long the series is. But I think this is a very good book, especially for a debut novel, and for introduction to a fantasy series. I would put this at, it's kind of in between a YA to new adult. I don't even know what those lines are, but it's not like it's not a very adult series. There's adult moments or whatever, but it's not going to be cliche tropey YA. He skirts a lot of the regular tropes, which is also very good. So it's a lot of fresh takes on things, and making sure not to be just like a reprint of a lot of other books. So there's a lot of good ideas and execution of how he goes through the stories and the characters in this. So the rating system on this is kind of hard. I haven't used my rating system much, but I need to start using it more. But for this rating system, I do three parameters for rating books now on a scale from 1 to 10, and that is enjoyment, balance, and would I recommend. So on enjoyment, overall enjoyment, I'd give this a 7 out of 10, and that is factoring in the end of the book because of how much develops and builds up at the end. Was very good. I consumed the end a whole lot faster than the beginning. Balance, I might put 6 to 7, and I might fade more towards 7 because there were things that happened enough in the beginning, and it did develop, and it would just get, like I said, give me those breadcrumbs about the world. I just wasn't really hooked until about halfway through, but that's, it's a setup book, so I guess it can be hit or miss to see, but I think it's about a 7 for balance. And recommendation, I would also say a 7 because it's not very long. It is a good setup, and if this turns into a longer series, it'll you'll know by the end of the book if you want to continue it, if it's for you or not. And with everything that happens toward the end, I think a lot of people will want to continue. So it's an easy read to knock out. Plus, it is Kindle Unlimited, as I've mentioned. So I would recommend if you have Kindle Unlimited. So those are my quick thoughts and review of Voice of War. There wasn't really too in depth for me to say on this book, and I didn't really want to give away too much because after you get toward the halfway point, certain plot points they would become spoilers anyway. But I think it is, if you do want a little bit of magic and a new fantasy world, and and you like some good twists to these and some non-traditional tropes, then I would definitely check this out, especially if you have Kindle Unlimited. If you read Voice of War, let me know what you think. Or if you've read the sequel, also let me know what you think in the comments, or if this has been on your list, on your radar at all. Or if there's any other Kindle Unlimited books that you have on your radar. You'll see down below, I have added a link to my Amazon Kindle Unlimited list. Now, this list and link, it's not like a, hey, buy me books kind of link. When you go to the list, I don't think it'll be able to buy me a book or whatever. But this is just me sharing the books that I am bookmarking on Kindle Unlimited. So I've had a lot of Kindle Unlimited lists in the past. I've talked about Kindle Unlimited books and TBRs, but I haven't been able to talk about all the ones that I've come across that I've put on my list. So now I have a dedicated list on my Amazon account that is just Kindle Unlimited books. And now you can go look at that list, what I have, and as I update and add books to my Kindle Unlimited list to get to. So if you are getting a Kindle Unlimited, then you can go and check out those. If you need recommendations, check those out. Or even if you don't, you can still check those out, ones that I have bookmarked, because those are going to be a little bit cheaper than regular books anyway. So that's all I got for today, and we'll chat more in the comments.